In this screencast, we are going to look at how you can actually carry out internal analysis. So in screencast 4 and screencast 5, I'm going to look at two different methods for carrying out internal analysis. And the subject of this screencast is a technique called functional analysis. So we have two models. Functional analysis looks at strengths, resources in relation to each of the main functional activities of an organisation. So by functional activities, I mean the management functions. So management functions are marketing, human resource management, operations and production management, customer service, etc., etc. So functional analysis looks at the departments or functions of a business and asks, where are the resources? Are there enough resources? Are the resources at the basis of strengths? Is the organisation good at these functions? So it's a way of identifying strengths and weaknesses by looking at the different functions of an organisation. The next tool we will look at, which is the subject of screencast 5, is value chain analysis. And value chain analysis looks a bit more complicated, but all value chain analysis does is it breaks down the activities that a firm or an organisation must do into a sequential value chain. So these are the sequences of events or activities which an organisation must complete in order to produce its products. So the production of products or services requires different stages or activities, and the value chain analysis asks which activities require which resources. Does the organisation have strengths or weaknesses in each of these resources? Does it have competencies which represent strengths, or does it lack competencies which would mean weaknesses in each of the value creating activities? So the first thing that we're going to look at is functional analysis. So all I have here is down the left hand column, I have a list of the main functional areas of a business. So we have marketing, we have manufacturing or production, the making of the goods or the service. We have finance, we have research and development. So research and development is where new products are designed and developed, and where technology and customer insight is used to develop these. And then we have human resource management. And the process is really quite simple. There are templates in the week 2 workbook for strengths and weaknesses analysis. If you read the week 2 workbook, you will see that there is a button to link you through to these resources, the templates, and one of these is a functional analysis, and you will see that all the template allows you to do is, for each function, identify some evidence. So what evidence is there that resources and competencies are there, and these are strengths. Now, you also ask, are there any poor or missing resources? And these quite simply represent weaknesses. So the reason that we have a template like functional analysis is that it allows us to look sequentially and systematically at different areas of the business, because all these business areas are important in order for the organisation to produce its products, to market them, to fund them, to compete, to have the people who are able to provide the service or make the products or market the products or provide the customer service. So when we say in this module that this module will make you look at business as a whole rather than just part of it, what you are doing here is you're looking across all the management functions: marketing, manufacturing or production operations, finance, research and development, and human resource management, and you're saying, do each of these activities represent a strength or a weakness? So functional analysis is a systematic way of appraising, analysing the resources of an organisation. So these functions can be changed or adapted to reflect the different way businesses or organisations in different sectors of the sport industry operate. So if we look at this example, this is a departmental structure for a national governing body. So in England and the UK, we call the Football Association is a national governing body. In Hong Kong, you call them Hong Kong Sport Associations. So what we're looking at here is a typical structure for a sport association. So we would have a management board and team. There would be a department which is responsible for competition and events, finance and business services, human resources, commercial, performance. So this is about trying to identify and support elite athletes, legal and governance, and development. And development is about improving grassroots participation. So these are the different key functions of a national governing body. And you can see that they are a bit different than our standard functional analysis. So on the previous slide, we had manufacturing and production and research and development. We don't have this for a national governing body, but we've tailored it to reflect the fact that this organisation produces its goods and services, its functions are different. So all we would then do is ask a series of questions, which will be, for each department or activity area, conduct research into the resources and competencies. So you as the student, you as the manager, would need to find data on the resources and the competencies, which could be identified as strengths or weaknesses for your national governing body. Your organisation doesn't have to be a national governing body or a sports association. But if it was a sports association, what kinds of evidence would you be looking at? Well, you'd be saying, are the participation rates good or bad? If they're good, if lots of people are doing the sport, then that is going to be a strength. If the trend is that participation in the sport is decreasing, going down, not so many people are doing the sport, then that is a weakness. What about competition structures? Do they have a strong competition structure which has competitions for all levels, for all age groups, for male and female? Or are there gaps? What about events? Does the Sports Association have the rights for a major event? Now, some sport associations in the UK, like the Lawn Tennis Association, they have the rights for Wimbledon, which is a major strength for them because Wimbledon promotes the game of tennis, but more importantly, for the Lawn Tennis Association in England, it brings them lots of money from sponsorship and broadcast revenue. So this is a major advantage. Not all national governing bodies or sport associations would have this kind of revenue. So in Hong Kong, you might have the Hong Kong Rugby Sevens, which generates some money. You might have football matches, Hong Kong playing football. So that might generate some spectator revenue and TV revenue. But minor sports don't generate the same revenue, so they may be relatively weak. As well as events, national governing bodies support clubs, try to help clubs develop so that they can promote the sport. How many clubs does the sport have? So in Hong Kong, for football, how many teams does the Hong Kong Sport Association for Football support? How many exist? How many clubs exist? And how does the Hong Kong Sport Association support and help those clubs? What about commercial activity? Well, commercial activity is closely related to the assets that the organisation does. So, in England, the FA of England own Wembley Stadium. So Wembley Stadium is a big asset. So they're able to have Wembley Stadium sponsored. They can use it for events other than football. So music, concerts and events. And they also sell things like the England team kit and so on. And there are merchandising deals for this. So these kind of things are all important. Now, other national governing bodies or sports associations with less profile will be less strong in their commercial activity. So this is a way just of looking at the different functions of, in this case, a national governing body or a sport association, and thinking what are the strengths or the weaknesses against each of these key activity areas. Now, if you look at the templates for strengths and weaknesses analysis in the week 2 workbook and click the link, you will see different templates set up with instructions that tell you how you need to A, provide evidence, and B, start to think about whether this represents a strength or a weakness for the organisation.